Hello, I'm Sean Stone, and this will be my brief presentation on the Ricky Held et al. Versus the state of Montana youth climate trial. Um, all right, so we'll start off with the plaintiff's argument. The plaintiffs were a number of youth in the state of Montana who were represented by um, Our Children's Trust, and they had a number of different arguments that, at the end of the day, ended up being successful. Um, First, they essentially argued that the fossil fuel-based energy system violated their constitutional rights in terms of um, it harmed their health, their homes, and more. Um, let's see. This image, I think, was kind of an emotional appeal, certainly a comic book strip-esque summary of the court case, as it were. Um, but essentially, it boiled down to the fact that Montana's policies violated their constitutional rights, which guaranteed a clean environment, dignity, safety, and equal protection. Um, the Montana Environmental Policy Act, which is a state version of the National Environmental Policy Act, um, prohibited the state from considering greenhouse gas emissions when issuing permits for energy projects. And that was the very specific lens in which Our Children's Trust attacked is a rough word, but argued against the state of Montana in terms of not guaranteeing that life, liberty, and property for future generations. The defendant's argument, again, I kind of chose a um, fun image, I guess. The state of Montana defended itself, claiming that regulators were just following state law. So, as any good bureaucrat would, they would just say, we were just doing our job as described, and that the plaintiffs were simply trying to make an argument to win in the court of public appeal, and that the only people this benefited was China. I couldn't really nail down how they brought this all back to China. Well, I don't think that the state of Montana made that argument, but their supporters did. Um, the Montana legislature, well, the regulator said the Montana legislature should address the state's role in climate change. And again, this was just an airing of public grievances. And some might argue that they were not wrong in that assessment. Um, anyways, Our Children's Trust and the youth in Montana ended up being successful in their suit, their case, and it was historic in that it was the kind of the first of its kind in terms of climate change lawsuits led by youths. Um, they have been filed in many states, and this was the first, as I said, that was successful. Um, I think I found that Our Children's Trust had filed four others in other states that were not as successful. Um, and it was the first time in U.S. history that the merits of a case led a court to rule that the government violated young people's constitutional rights. I think often, in almost every instance, we are prisoners of the moment. So this um, really and truly was a landmark case in conservation, and kind of spoke to our readings earlier in the semester about how do we actually do this for future generations. So this kind of plots the course for how we can do that. I did see that there are six other states. Um, this is according to the Columbia Law School, that while 3/4 of the countries on Earth have explicit environmental protections in their legislatures or constitutions, only six U.S. states do, which I found kind of incredible, given that the U.S. is where a lot of environmental protections, like the movement, kind of started. Um, so hopefully, a foothold can be made in these other five states, and they can push the remaining 44 states to come up with their own environmental protections. Another case brought forward by the Our Children's Trust was Juliana et al. Versus the United States of America. So they filed it originally in 2015 and was dismissed in 2020. This was a suit brought forward in Oregon, and it argued similarly to the Held versus Montana case that the government, in this case the United States government, violated due process to guarantee life, liberty, and property to future generations. And it ended up being dismissed. The Ninth Circuit panel ruled that the plaintiffs lacked standing. And looking up what standing means kind of means that they could demonstrate their injuries, which was the primary obstacle for, I think, all of these youth-led litigations. So I'm going to lead into this summary that I found on the Harvard Law Review from my expert opinion, that this limited scope, while it may have a limited impact in terms of only being relevant in the state of Montana, the limited scope was a benefit because it was a targeted challenge, so that they could actually point to their injuries and demonstrate standing. So this created a pathway for courts in Montana, at least, to play a role in climate governance. And again, if we go back, we see that there are 5 other states where this may be successful if they can limit their scope intentionally, not to limit their impact necessarily, but collectively that impact may be greater. So that's what I was able to find out. Thanks for bringing this to my attention. This is not something I was previously aware of. So with that, hopefully I'm at my 5 to 7 minutes. Thanks.